So the next one I have on the list here is you're communicating with a person. Things are going well, seemingly going well. So you're either communicating with them in writing, calling, or texting, and then all of a sudden the communication just stops. Okay. Have you ever been in that situation? So this question is an interesting one. I think that a lot of times people look at life through their own lens. So for them, they're saying, well, things were going great, and all of a sudden they just stopped communicating with me. But if you really break it down, it probably wasn't as sudden as you are telling yourself. So I've seen situations where, like a friend of mine, for example, she's communicating with this guy that she met online, and she would say that he takes forever to write her back. Right. So then when it got to the point where he didn't write her at all, she was like, he just stopped writing me. And I was like, well, he had been kind of tapering off, probably in attempts to be polite because he didn't want to hurt your feelings by saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore. But because you kept writing him every time he would write you back, he probably then got to the point where he was like, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm just not going to write her anymore. That sounds harsh, but a lot of times people tell us exactly what we need to know, but we're not always receptive to it, or we're not always willing to listen. So if an individual has just seemingly abruptly stopped talking to you and just didn't call you back anymore, there's a good chance that there was a reason behind it, and a lot of times it had nothing necessarily to do with you. In the land of communicating online, the access to multiple individuals is very high, so they may have been communicating with you and then found someone else that they match better with. So they don't have as much time to communicate with you also, so they make a choice to communicate with the other person. That should not be internalized as something that you did wrong, but that person was not a fit for you.
All right, so you meet someone and there's a lot of texting and a lot of calling and a lot of communicating and uh, GIFs, GIFs, and stuff like that. And then one day that all stops. Oh no, was it something I said? Was it something I did? Were they busy? Are they dead? It could be a number of things. So ask, everything all right? Talking, 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 and then nothing. And then if you don't hear from them or they give you some lame behind excuse, bye. Again, there are 6 billion people on the planet. Somebody's bound to be a person for you. You don't have to waste a whole bunch of time with that kind of stuff. People let you know who they are pretty much right off the cuff. If you've been doing this talking and communicating thing and then suddenly there's nothing there, and you ask and you get a response, positive or negative, then then you know what to do. So not a whole lot of time to spend on that one. Just let it go. It's all right. Let it go. Let it go. Does age really matter? Clubbing? Absolutely not. Relationship? It depends on the person. Are they mature or are they too mature? It depends on your preferences. I don't necessarily want to date anybody who's 20 years older than I am, or necessarily someone who's 20 years younger. I don't mind looking at somebody who's 20 years younger than I am, but do I want a relationship with that person? It's still going to depend. And with the person who's 20 or more years older, it's going to depend. I tend to go off of looks a bit. So what they look like, how they act, all that kind of stuff. It's about the same as dealing with somebody your own age. Do you want to be around that person all the time? And that kind of thing. So I guess in the end, no, age doesn't matter. that'll probably be more of an insecurity question than anything else. Can you handle dating somebody who's much younger, or just plain younger than you are, or older? So, doesn't really matter to me.
Does age matter? Ooh, that makes me chuckle a bit because I have this thing that I always joke around about. Um, 18 to party, 21 to drink. That used to be the thing. Well, I think they still do that at clubs and things like that. You have to be 18 to get into the club, and you have to be 21 to be able to drink. So when it comes to age, I always say 18 to party, 21 to drink. So, but in all seriousness, does age matter? I will say that depends. So if you're an older person, I would say 30 plus, 40 plus, you have different priorities than a person who is, 18, 19, 20 years old. So I think that if you're looking to have fun, if you're looking to have a good time and hang out and, just, feel free to fly type of relationship, then I don't think age matters. However, you cannot place your years of experience and wants and needs and hopes and dreams on a person that is younger than you. And a lot of times that's what I've seen that tends to happen in a lot of relationships with when the age gap is significant, because you may be in a different place than that individual. You've had time to do the trial and error. You've had time to make mistakes and make some gains, and you've had time to learn the way of life. Whereas that individual who is 18, 19, 20, however old, is still learning that. That's what your 20s are for. Your 20s are to make mistakes and to learn and to grow. Your 30s are to perfect. Your 40s is the I don't give a freak. So when you get to that age, you're not as concerned with all the BS that goes along with life. So, does age matter? I will say it depends on what you're looking for in a relationship, but you must be honest with yourself and you must be honest with your partner. That's so important.
My standards are too high. How can I find the one? Coming from a person with high standards, it becomes, I think the question kind of tends to be, are your standards realistic? And then how can you find one based on those standards? um, I know I'm picky for some things, so then it'll be a matter of, is that really a thing? Is that going to be a deal breaker? Um, who walks on what side? So it's just going to depend. A lot of these things are like this. It all just depends, kind of thing. I just with standards and stuff, you don't want to compromise. Um, Particularly in areas where it's going to deal with your self-respect and things like that. So you have those kinds of things. There's no compromising for that. But if it's something like, oh my gosh, I only shop at Neiman Marcus and he shops at Kmart, yeah, you can work around that kind of thing. Um, Blue collar, white collar. That, I think those are things that you can work around. But if you're talking about petty stuff, then get over it. Or if you're like, I had uh, this one thing that I would say that I would like. Um, it was like three, and mind you, this is all based on movies. So then you get into the realistic part, right? Because these people are written to be this way. So it was Keanu Reeves in A Walk in the Clouds, and then it was someone else. I can't remember the other ones, but there was another character who was a protector, and then there was another character who just liked to have a good time or something, like Pauly Shore kind of thing back in the 90s, 2000s, whenever he was big. Pauly Shore, like a guy like that, and a guy like this, and a guy like that. put all them together, and that's the one. Well, good luck with that, because all of those people are written to be that way. So back to the question. So it's going to depend on, are your standards realistic, or are your standards, are they genuine things that are deal breakers in a relationship, kind of thing. Keanu Reeves.
My standards are too high. How can I find the one? Okay, I hear people, in particular women, say this all the time. Oh, I have high standards, so that's why I can't find someone. Well, we're not asking you to lower your standards. We're asking you to take a long, hard look at what you say you want. So it's okay to have standards. It's okay to say you want X, Y, and Z in a partner. I think that's mature. I think that's a good approach to have. However, the mistake a lot of women in particular make is that the standards that they're looking at kind of go outside of themselves. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So let's say you are an individual that is you're a person who values Christianity. You value Christian morals, right? But you have not been able to necessarily find a Christian man that matched exactly. So then you meet someone that you think is nice, you're attracted to them, you think they're good looking, and you say, you know what, I think I can make this work. They have some Christian moral values, so I think I can make this work. That's where the mistakes come in, and that's where the heartache comes in, because now you have not been honest with yourself or that other individual. You've said to yourself, I can live with that, and when in actuality, that's not something that you're willing to compromise on. And by the time you're honest with yourself, a lot of hurt feelings have developed. So if you're honest with yourself from the very, very beginning, you're able to maintain your standards and find a person that will match what you're looking for. Don't rush it, and don't just settle for a person just for the sake of being with someone, because in the end, it will only hurt you and the person that you're with.
Like this person, but he has small children. If there's a but, that's going to be an issue. So if there is no but, then you're good to go. If there is a but, then you might want to find somebody that doesn't have any small children, or children at all, depending on what you want to do. When I found out, I laughed because of what I'm about to say. When I found out that Ricky Martin had not birthed kids, but got his two boys, I was like, oh man, because I've already raised a son, so I don't necessarily want to raise anybody else's children, because then you get into, those are my kids, not your kids, and you can't discipline and all that kind of stuff. So just skip all of that. And for me, it was skip all of that, and just when they're like 16, 17, then he can give me a holler. But then he came out as gay, and that really put a monkey wrench in my plan for him. So somebody else with small kids, I don't know. Depends on the person, and what kind of, is he an active father, what kind of person he is. So at that point, then that's a decision to make. However, if you got to start with but, then you might want to do, maybe there's some soul searching to be done, or you've already answered your question about what you want to do about this person that you're interested in. Because remember, there are 6 billion people on the planet. One of them is bound to be somebody that you're interested in, who's interested in you. So
all right. This next one had me laughing. I like this person, but they have small children. What should I do? No one wants to deal with your kids. No, I'm just kidding. But this is a good one, because I think it's a very valid concern when you're approaching a relationship. When you're in a relationship with someone, you have to be willing to accept all that they are. You can't pick and choose what pieces of them you want to accept. And when a person has children, whether you're dating or you're married or you're, whether you're dating or whether you're looking for a long-term relationship, whatever the case may be, if that individual has children, those children are going to be a part of their lives. And you have to be willing to accept that. Now, that does not mean you have to raise that individual's children. That is not what that means. What that means is that you have to understand that your partner has a previous commitment, as a prior commitment, and one of the greatest commitments there are, and that commitment is to his or her children. So you have to be willing to understand that if you're going to date someone with small children. You also have to be honest with yourself to understand that that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you an honest person, that you can be honest with yourself and you can be honest with your partner to say that I am not a person that wants to date someone with small children because I don't want that responsibility, and I don't want a partner who has other commitments, right? It sounds bad to some people to say that, but honesty goes a lot farther than you trying to fit yourself into a type that comes unnaturally to you. Now, I do know that there are people who were hesitant to be with a person with children, but they got into the relationship anyway, and they actually turned into great parents. They embraced it, and they, learned all they could learn, and it worked out for them. But they were willing to do the work. You have to decide for yourself how much work you're willing to do, how much involvement you're willing to have, and be honest with yourself and your partner as to whether or not this is something that you can do. Because anytime you're involving children, that's a huge commitment, and the children deserve better. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We've heard that expression many, many times. So what exactly does that mean, right? It's your taste. It's your personal preference. It's how you feel about your attraction to another person, right? So sometimes you have individuals, and I'll give you an example. Tom Cruise. Okay, some people find Tom Cruise attractive. I think he's okay, but there is something about Tom Cruise, je ne sais quoi, swagger, whatever you want to call it. There is something about him that makes him so attractive, and I think that's why we continue to like him and see his movies and things like that. But he's not necessarily the best looking guy in the world, but because of his aura, I'm drawn to him because of his aura. There's something just so sexy about Tom Cruise that he just has that certain something. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be about looks per se, but more so attraction. Now, we are led to believe that we live in a very visual world, which and to an extent it's true, because we all want to look better, we want to feel better and things like that. But when you talk to the opposite sex and really break it down, a lot of times they will tell you that they don't really care. Women spend a lot of time trying to live up to a standard of beauty, and it's a standard of beauty for a reason. Someone sets a standard of beauty. The average male did not set those standards. They did not set those standards, and the average male, they don't look for those things. And this extends beyond just a male and female relationship. When you talk about the average standard of beauty, right? So, do looks matter? You can look at that as being superficial, or whatever the case may be, but most people, it goes beyond actual looks and extends into attraction. So, who are you attracted to? What type of person are you attracted to? What type of looks do you have a tendency to be attracted to? It's not the look themselves, but the quality of whatever part that you're looking at. And that is in the eye of the beholder, because I may look at a person's smile and find certain smiles attractive. So then I would be attracted to that person because they have a great smile. Whereas someone else may like, like a great body, like an athletic body. Me personally, I don't like muscle bound men. I like looking at muscle bound men, don't get me wrong, but I would never be attracted to that in the sense that I would want to date that person. I would not look at it and say, you know what, they are a muscle bound man, I gotta date that. No, I would be attracted to qualities, to personality, to different things like that, but there are things on men that I find attractive.
Do looks matter? Yes. Yes, they do. And with that, you have to be prepared that your looks matter to someone else. So I have to be prepared that my looks matter to someone else. And they're like, no, I'm just not interested in you. You're not pretty enough or whatever. Oh, all right then. Well, that's the way you feel about it. Wrong, but that's the way you feel about it. Because you're attracted to who you're attracted to. So that's where it gets into like, do looks matter? Well, does attraction matter? Kind of thing. I mean, we're not like in the 1600s or whatever, or arranged marriages and all that kind of thing. He's a good match because he has a whole bunch of cows and is able to take care of you and your family and stuff like that. So we're not in those kind of days anymore to where the marriage is arranged based on necessarily arranged based on what you can get out of it as far as stability and stuff like that. Thanks to the progress, we're able to marry now for love. But there are instances where it becomes a matter of a contract between two people. We'll combine and I knew of a couple who did that. They weren't necessarily attracted to each other, but it was not prudent. It was, I guess, profitable, convenient. There's a word that I'm looking for, and it's not either one of those, but it worked out for them. It's what worked best for them. And in it, they decided, yes, we're going to have children too. So it was like strictly by the books kind of thing. Like, we'll do this for a certain amount of time or forever. But it was an arrangement that they had. So it was, because marriage is a contract. So they went like strictly, this is a contract between us, and this is how we're going to do all our stuff. So with the issue of looks and stuff, I lean more towards attraction, then get to know the person, and like you can see like the cutest guy on the planet, and for me, if he throws trash out the window, he lost me. Because that's important to me. So yeah, so that's all I got to say about that.
Okay, so hopefully we